Well. We are back. Whoops, live right here at MVP's Sports Pub in Edmonds, Washington. If you're checking us out right now on the YouTube, thank you for liking and subscribing. If you had not done that yet, you're being rude, right, Hanno?
Yeah, it's the place to be.
Yeah, smash all that shit. If you're checking us out on the podcast, you're not listening to this live, so this is the place to be live. It's on YouTube. It's free. It's free. So are the podcasts. Grab those wherever you are getting that podcast action from. Also, go check out In the Clutch. They got some new Mariner shirts up. We got some new players. They got some new shirts. Also, if you want that street cred for rocking the rye bread, hit up at simply.cora. That's at simply.cora. Well, Hanno, you're back, and I should give you a better introduction. The self-proclaimed voice of reason here on the Rye Bread Mariners podcast, the man who's really down on the other side of the docks and on the other side of the tracks. Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's been an interesting month. Oh, go ahead.
I said it's good to be back. How are you feeling? You definitely look and sound like you've had a little fever lately. I mean, Mariner fever. You've been on fire.
A little Mariner fever. I was really, really happy last week. I'm still optimistic. From the week before, I think every Mariner fan was crazy. Not as crazy as the guy that shot off some death threats or whoever did that to Mitch Garver. That person's an idiot, but very frustrated. If that's a level 10, we were on a level 1, but frustrated with what was going on, and it makes you triggered from what the Mariners did and did not do in the last couple of off seasons. And then all of a sudden, someone that we were writing off, it looks great. Talking about Polanco, this guy Victor Robles just shows up on the scene. We make a couple of trades after Julio and JP go down. I don't think those things are linked together, but thank God we made some moves, and some good moves. And seems like the rest of the league, all the pundits, the Mariners either won or they were second best in what they addressed at this deadline.
Yeah, they did a good job. I mean, if I was to give them a grade or something, I'd give them, not a grade, let's use baseball terms. I'd give them a triple. It was a bang, just slid in time. They did a nice job.
I'm just going to give them a simple grade. I said this on our reaction show, but I would give them a B+. I said A-, but Gary here, one of the locals here at MVP's, the regulars here at MVP Sports Pub in Edmonds, he came up and he goes, "Why didn't we go and trade for a backup catcher? What are we thinking?" And I said, you know what? That is a good point. Which we're going to talk about everything that happened here in July, but what do you think about that point, that maybe a backup catcher might have been a thing? Because technically Mitch Garver, before we get in him, he's mainly here to be the DH. It's just that the backup catcher situation was pretty rough.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I see his point, of playing both of them, or, the whole thing that happened when Luis Castillo had to pinch hit because one of them got hurt and in the DH position or whatever. But, I mean, I see it, but I mean, do we really want to waste a spot and go get Cal Casali again? Or, I mean, what are we doing here? Let's get some. It's nice to have some actual bats in our bench,
Yeah.
Not going out and getting guys like that for a backup. Garver is a backup. I mean, he's going to probably DH some as well, but he's our backup. And from what I've seen of him behind the plate, he's been fine. Sure, he's not hitting like everybody expected, and especially for the money, but and a rough series and a rough last game. But, man, who are you going to go out and get as your backup catcher right now that's worth anything? So, I don't know. I'm okay with just letting it ride like it is.
Gary doesn't agree with your idea, but I'm gonna say I agree with you, Hanno. We don't got time to just grab any old backup catcher that's just gonna basically do the same thing Garver does at the plate. Maybe a Alejandro Kirk, that would have been nice, but I'm sure he was expensive. That's just one person that came to mind. But also the trade deadline's over with, so can't really lament too much about it, especially when you got a Rosarena, you got Turner, and then you go and get two good bullpen pieces, which looks really good, especially with the, seems like just like this rain cloud over Gregory Santos right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you want to get in the bullpen, no doubt. I mean, he has been a little bit injury prone lately. He's given up some runs. They didn't really give him a nice landing spot. They kind of made sure he was good to go in Tacoma, but didn't have too many outings or spring training, as we know. And he's struggled here lately, and he's been banged up here and there, which is a little scary. But man, when we think about the bullpen, I'm sure glad the Mariners did what they did. I mean, for me, that's going to be the whole key down the stretch for the Mariners if they, survive and move on, or if they sink, and especially in the playoffs too. We all know how the bullpen plays such a big role, but having a good guy to take the eighth inning for you in Garcia. That's huge. JT now, who we picked up as well, could be a seventh inning guy. While Santos might be banged up, but hopefully we get him back soon and he can, start hitting with his fastball. He's kind of wild with it here lately. He hasn't found his rhythm lately with that fastball and has to rely on his slider. But yeah, it's a lot better than what it's been. That's for sure. I'm real happy because the bullpen is key coming down the stretch, like I said.
Yeah, and let's take a look at JT. I think we know a little bit more, I think, as fans about Garcia because we've already seen him out there a couple of times, and that happened last week. If you guys remember, I'm sure everybody that follows the Mariners knows this, but he played on the 2021 team, and then we traded him to Tampa Bay, right? For I think
Castillo.
I think that's when we got Castillo. But let me pull him up. 33 years old. Was on that 2020 Dodgers team. But look what he's doing this year. You go, oh, we had this guy. We traded him away. He was all right when he was around. And then you go, whoa. Only 15 games this year. But in his, 16 2/3, he's got a whip of 1.32, 12 strikeouts, 1.62 ERA. Damn.
Yeah, looked really good. I mean, and the Mariners know who he is. I mean, he's not a high profile, one of the big guns, that got traded here at the deadline. It might be one of those sneaky moves that the Mariners have kept their eye on. They know he throws that slider, sweeper, all that good stuff that the bullpen and the Mariners pitching staff are great with guys. And like you mentioned, even though he's been out most of the year, I believe with a neck injury, even in his few starts since coming back, he's been pretty good. So he's one of those guys that can definitely help you. I gotta believe that they're gonna trust him over maybe a Saucedo or definitely Spires, since he hasn't been as good since he came back and then got sent back down. He just wasn't quite right yet. I just haven't had confidence in those guys, but to add another guy into the back end and then get those guys right and going again, I mean, would be huge. I mean, we saw how big it was in the first half with the Mariners, how tight their bullpen was, didn't give up anything, and that's when we got that big lead to start off. And we just haven't seen that lockdown stuff from everybody here lately, so it's going to be a big key for the Mariners.
Yeah, and just think if they didn't get any arms, you'd be screwed, I think. I just think you'd run Munoz into the ground. You're right. You don't really have a definite setup. You would have no definite setup guy because Santos, he's still working his way back. I mean, this guy came to the Mariners injured, had setbacks throughout spring training, got what, shut down. Comes back this month. The trainers, you know, been out there as many times just about as he has on the mound. Unfortunately, you've seen balls just get hit at him too. Do you see the ball that nailed him? I mean, it's just sometimes you got that weird injury luck going on, and it sucks. And that seems like that's what's going on with Santos. But you're getting glimpses of how nasty that guy is. I know we've seen the highlight tapes and we've seen what he's done in Chicago, but you've seen a little bit of it here in the
Oh,
small sample size.
absolutely. I mean, he can be a key guy. He was so exciting that first outing at San Diego. We've seen some glimpses of him. He just needs to dial it in, and hopefully he can stay healthy because he's a massive weapon that could be huge down the stretch.
Oh, huge. Could be, you got him, you got Chargois. I think I was calling him Chartois. It's Chargois. JT. But then I got to mix him up with Justin Turner. So Chargois. I'm just going to call him Chargois here on the show. You got Chargois. Excuse me. You got Chargois. You got Garcia. You got Munoz. And if Santos comes back, then you're good. You could really shorten the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've in my opinion, Thornton hasn't looked good lately, but they pitch him a lot. They've
A
probably
lot.
tired. Yeah, they've tired him out some. So hopefully, I wasn't that high on him last year, but he showed me some in the beginning of this year, and I just think they've ran him pretty hard, and his tank is a little on E, so just kind of got to get him in there in some good spots. He's kind of put in there in some spots that just don't add up for him, in my opinion. But that's the way it's had to be with the way things have gone. There's Snyder the other night looked really good in that pressure packed inning.
Yep.
A point where we haven't seen him put into that. So there's definitely guys down there that can really solidify this team. It's a good bullpen. I'm excited to see what they can do.
But you're right. Even that guy, he's getting a lot of reps. What's the other dude's name? Sneed? You're seeing that guy out there quite a bit, right?
Yeah, and Vote, the ex-Husky.
Let's just pull this up. Let's pull up the bullpen depth chart here for the YouTubers. But
it's hard to remember all of them. They've been shuffling them up and down here lately.
Snyder, sorry, Sneed, sorry, Snyder. I thought we had a Sneed at some point. My bad. I think we did. It's just been there's been a lot of them. You got Munoz, you got Santos, you got Thornton, you got Garcia, you got both. You got Saucedo, Snyder, Diaz. No, there is no Sneed. I swore we had a Sneed. I don't know. Snyder's been out there a lot.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, he was great in the ninth. The other night too. But before they brought in Diaz out to pitch to Devers, but that's another conversation. We're keeping it good here tonight, talking about the exciting things the M's have done.
Yes, the wild month of July. Let's just look at Yimmy though. Is it Yimmy or is it Jimmy? I've heard it both ways.
I have too, and call him what you like, as far as I'm concerned.
Number 93. So number 93 coming out of the pen, 33 years old. You recognize him from Toronto. I mean, pitching, having a great year. You got two bullpen guys that you added having a great year. 2.45, 5 saves. So he's been in that situation too. Like you said, if you do play these close games down the stretch and you don't want to throw Munoz 3 times, and damn sure you don't want to throw him 4 times. So this guy is good to have as well. So
yeah, especially like you mentioned earlier, talking about Santos. That's been another thing. They haven't been able to get him going, in back-to-back games yet. They've been real cautious with him, and he's still got nicked up. So having a guy like him come in that can pitch back-to-back maybe 3 times, and switch up those roles with him and Munoz. I mean, it's good to have those type of options here.
Oh hell yeah, I'm loving it. I think. We look at the Rosarena deal, and we look at grabbing Turner, and you're going, oh wow, okay. I mean that was a huge need. Could they have used more? Sure, but happy with that. But this bullpen every day that it's gone by, or every hour I should say, that the trade deadline goes by, I start thinking about the value of this. But in fact, you know what? Let's talk about Arozarena, and let's talk about Turner, because I haven't talked to you about them at all. And let's take a quick, sorry, I was pulling up something here. I gotta grab something. Let's take a quick break and let's talk about those guys and what to expect from them here down the stretch, and maybe talk a little bit about like Julio and his injury. Heard a little bit about that. Tomorrow I think we'll have a little bit more of a idea. Anyways, we'll get to that right after this.
Get ready to play hardball in the Kingdom.
Take me to the ball game. I want to see the Ants. The Mariners are playing hardball. Did it again and again and again. Did it again.
Princess Tours, the vacation company, brings you the best show in baseball when the San Diego Chicken plays hardball with the Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles tonight in the Kingdom.
Supercross this weekend in the Kingdom. The Coors Beer Supercross doubleheader. Get ready, Seattle, this Saturday night at 7:30 and Sunday afternoon at 2. The 1988 ANA Supercross Tour, Motorcycle Mania, on an incredible dirt battleground that treats man and machine the same way. With absolutely no respect. See the best. National champion Jeff Ward, former champion Ricky Johnson. Tickets at all Ticketmaster locations, including the Bond, Tower Records and Video, and participating Honda dealers. The Coors Beer Supercross.
Man, I just wish I could go back to the Kingdom and watch anything, but the Supercross sounds pretty fun.
Yeah.
So Randy Arozarena, how'd you feel about it when we got him? How do you feel about it now after seeing what else happened and who did not move around MLB?
Yes, when we got him kind of earlier on before the final deadline, I was pumped. He's been a guy that I always like. I think we've talked about him early on last year and hoping to get a guy like him or him. He's exciting. He puts the ball in play, both him and JT. That's what I like so much about watching these last games is guys are putting the ball in play. They're not striking out. It was nice to see him against Boston going up against Jansen, and I thought he tried to let it fly a few times, and I was just excited to see it, he's a solid player. We got him for a few years. Real happy. And you asked, what do I think about him now? I mean, like a lot of people said, he's probably one of the best bats, acquired at the deadline. So it was smart on the Mariners to go out early and grab him. I don't feel like they gave up too much for really any of their players. Sure, we don't know on some of them, but Tampa Bay, focuses in on who they want, and they went out and got some guys maybe that weren't high on our prospect lists, but I would assume they'll be pretty good. But as far as Rand, excited to see him down the stretch with a full stadium. He lives for this. We've seen him play in the World Baseball Classic. He's freaking clutch in the playoffs. So just hoping he can do that for the Seattle Mariners.
Absolutely. He's had 33 playoff games, and I want to say 86 for Justin Turner. So between those two, I mean, that will take the Mariners on this pace thousands of years, like a whole nother like dinosaur. Like the big, what do they call it? The Big Bang? The Big Bang Theory would have to happen before we'd have another 100 and what? 100 and what? Almost 40 playoff appearances. But look, I really enjoy this trade. That doing the show with me, how much we've talked about Randy Rosarena. It's funny because when we made the trade, our video on our YouTube was going, and then all the other ones, if you went to the front page, they were up next at the top of the list next to them, because it's just kind of like we have so many Randy videos. Like I think we might have like 4 or 5.
Wow.
I'm looking back at the graphics, but we've loved this dude. We wanted him the year before. We've been really hot and sweet on him really since the 2023 WBC. That's where we were really like, this guy's a nut. And if you think about it, how valuable is it to have him, especially what else we just endured this month? Julio going down. I think your remark and everybody's remark when he first went down, season's over, and we still don't know when he's going to come back. I doubt you will see him this week. I think they'd already be in he's probably coming back. But having somebody like Randy Rosarena, despite adding him to him, just needing him in that lineup, huge if Julio's going to be out for any stretch of time, a week, 2 weeks, especially with the schedule we have. Especially, look, we need to stop using the word. There's a lot of season left. I mean, there's plenty, but we're coming down this is the sprint run now.
Yeah, what are we at, a 50-cent piece around there? About 50 to go or something?
I want to see. I was hoping we have 54 games so we could be like, all right, this is the number. I think we're right around that. I'd have to go look. But, yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Him, JT, 2 guys that can pick up the pace for our other guys that are out with JP and Julio, like you mentioned. But it's exciting to see what the lineup can look like when those guys get back. I know you were shooting me some texts with your lineup and what you were liking, and man, from what you put down, it's looking a lot longer and a lot better than it has. You mentioned Polo at one time too. He's starting to come along, looks way more comfortable. And I mentioned earlier, guys are putting the ball in play with 2 strikes. We saw Justin Turner do that.
Yeah.
That's just huge with 2 strikes, just to get that run in. It's not the K, it's not we got runners in scoring position and we just putter out. Those guys put the ball in play, and I mean that's the name of the game, and that's been such a problem with this team this year.
Yeah, you're forcing the other team to make a play, and you were playing against Boston, who is the worst defensive team. So anytime the ball was hit, maybe we got a chance. Sure. Yeah, the runners in scoring position, as much as it hurt there in that last Boston game in that series, it didn't feel like the other ones. Like, if it was all Ks, sure, in the 10th inning you got the 2 Ks, but I'm not all over Justin Turner if he strikes out. I'm not all over Randy Rosarena if he strikes out,
I feel exactly the same way. But you feel a lot better having those guys up in those positions. I could guarantee Justin Turner's going to win you a game at some point this year. Sure, he's on the back end of his career, but he's going to have a big clutch hit coming down the stretch and hopefully in the postseason. Same with Randy. I mean, these guys are just, like you mentioned, so many times they've been in the playoffs. They just know how to do it, and they live for it, especially a Rosarena. So, I mean, I just can't wait till guys get fully healthy. We got a full lineup. It's good times ahead.
Yeah, I think so, especially if Julio gets back sometime relatively soon, because that's what we're really waiting for when it comes with a Rosarena. You get Julio back in the lineup, and let's just say we get JP back in the lineup. This injury sucks for him. It seems like he's probably not going to be back till around Labor Day, maybe a little bit before, but maybe just kind of the rough year he was having. Maybe there's a positive you're getting out of this where maybe JP can sit back, relax, knows where he's going to fit in the lineup probably and on this team, and not have as much on his shoulders. I'm confident saying that.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. You know, these guys have been pressing this year. High expectations, great years from them last year with JP. Expects so much more out of himself. Hasn't had the type of year that he's wanted. And with having these guys in the lineup that you've added, should take some pressure off from having to get the inning going or keep it going or whatever way you want to put it. Just let him go out there and let his natural ability just take it for him. But yeah, I think we just need for us to make the playoffs, and a few people have said that we just need our guys before this trade to just step up their games a little bit, along with these two guys, and then our bullpen. It should help a lot because with this pitching staff, we only need. I mean, since Arozarena got to Seattle, I mean, the runs we've scored in those games has just been fantastic. Over four a game, it's just been great to see. Some good games. It's just not. I mean, they only struck out 6 times that one game. I was freaking shocked. It was just beautiful.
I know. You're like, is this a typo? Should there be a 1 before this? Maybe even a 2.
Yeah.
But you talk about Turner. He's going to win a game for you. He is. And I think I was talking about his first game. The way I think it ended with a ground ball toss across to him, catching the ball, or maybe that was just an inning. And I said,
no, it was the end of the game. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, and I was just remembering, just in my head, going like, I shouldn't say remembering. I had to remember. Oh shit, that's him. It's just this gritty old first baseman, shaggy. Kind of gave me those. Miller from Boston when he played there.
Oh yeah, Kevin Millar.
Kevin Millar. But yeah, it was just like this playoff guy receiving that ball. Game over. When the camera panned over, I'm so used to seeing Ty or somebody young or who the hell's over there, and just seeing that, I was like, damn, that looks like that's a playoff. That's a playoff player right there, ending the game all pumped up. Yeah, I feel like when we're talking about the lineup, before we can even just talk about maybe the length of the lineup, 2 huge emergence. We've been saying, hey, everybody's been like, if 1 or 2 or hell 3 of the 5 guys that have underperformed can start performing, and especially when you add these guys, you're in good shape. Well, let's start first with Polo. You and I went to a game at the beginning of July, and he's here on our cover here. Wild month for this guy. He's like literally doubled all of the good statistics that he did all year in the last 3 weeks.
I'm glad you mentioned that game. He looked so lost at the plate. I mean,
yes.
He walked back to the dugout after striking out, and we had great seats thanks to your sister, and you could just see it in his face. I mean, he was just like dumbfounded. And
I remember.
Yeah, what?
Remember, I was like, "We gotta go because I'm gonna yell something stupid because those at bats were terrible. They were terrible." Yeah,
absolutely.
I've seen his worst at bats probably of his career, and some of his better at bats in his career, or at least Mariner career. Let me say this again. We've seen the worst at bats Polo has ever had probably this month, and we've seen the best at bats he's had, at least on the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, and when he's been good like this, I mean, you can tell he's got a good approach at the plate. He's driving the ball, being a switch hitter. He's hitting from both sides. He's already to double-digit home runs. I mean, it's exciting from where he came from, that's for sure.
Yeah, the one thing you got to be concerned with is his durability. So
definitely.
You saw the other day when he had to come out of the game and you had Rivas in 2 of those situations. It really made you think, right? And it also makes me think, when I see Dylan Moore really doing well right now, but he's, going to have to be in there for JP. We might have to lean on Vossler for a little bit, and Rojas, but you got to get Polo off his feet. That's what I'm trying to get to. To me, him at second base, he doesn't really stand out to me. I don't think he does to anybody defensively. He's like, you know, he's all
poor.
right.
He doesn't have much range, in my opinion.
Yeah, I felt a whole lot better out there defensively, of course, when Bliss was out there. Totally different kind of player. But you need that bat in lineup all the time. So I'm wondering, especially when everybody gets healthy, are we going to see more of him at DH?
Wow, I didn't think of it that way. Possibly, if once JP gets back, I like that a little bit more, and being able to slide Demo over there. But you just talking about these injuries with him, and we haven't even talked about your boy Robles yet. How excited we are, and when we're talking about these new additions, I mean, it's still quite a fine line for this Mariner team if guys stay banged up and don't, get healthy or have nagging injuries. I mean, it could teeter-totter any which way real quick.
Yeah, because if you say Polo's not injured, not playing, you could go into this Phillies series going, Polo's out, Robles is out, Julio's out, JP Crawford's out. But imagine when they're all back on the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, with them out, you're probably seeing what you saw here in Game 3 Boston. You're probably seeing not as bad, but what you were seeing against the Angels. You're probably hoping for 2 to 3 runs, and the Mariners pitching staff to only give up 1 or 2. Which is doable. We've seen it for years now. But yeah, it's going to be exciting when they get back. But let's talk about Robles. I got to say, I was down in Anaheim, if you remember this, and I sent you a video of these guys that somebody happened to be a Washington Nationals fan, and Tommy Stockberg can vouch for me. He was just talking so much about Victor Robles, and he was yelling at him, and, hey, Victor, and this. Victor was turning around, and then they got these big chants, Victor. And this is when he stole second base, stole third base, got the overthrow, and went home and got us the run that put us in the lead that day, right? And ever since then, he's just been on fire. I know he was doing all right during them, but he was getting sporadic at bats. But just watching him play in the outfield, what he has been at the top of the lineup, and I did hear Jerry DiPoto. Of course, he's going to talk him up. He's the guy who went out and made the move. But if you didn't know, and a lot of people do, but he was at one point a hotter prospect than Juan Soto with the Nationals.
Yeah.
And he's put together some good seasons, and he's, at this point in his career, he's 27. So like DiPoto did say, he goes, he's in his prime of his career with all those skills that are still there. And that hit home with me.
Yeah. I mean, that play made in Boston going in that funky corner, made that amazing catch. He's got some flair to his game and some excitement. I mean, that's another thing I forgot to mention about Arozarena. I mean, there's some charismatic dudes. Of course, we had Julio. I loved how he gave the no-fly zone after that catch to Julio. It's just exciting. The team was just so kind of dead and boring to me at times. I'm sure when you're striking out in the first half as much as they have and not putting the ball in play, I mean, of course it's dead and boring. But seeing these guys, I mean, the whole makeup of the team has changed. Cal mentioned, just the extra spark it gives the rest of the team. Not only getting these players, but the Mariners front office going out and getting these guys. They have provided a spark and some energy, and it's really cool to see.
Look, and Cal is not an easy critic, and he likes what's going on. He says he liked it. He liked the moves. He liked the optics that ownership after last year. His comments. Let's not forget his game after game 161 elimination comments. I think, I don't think he's saying that this year. He might say something like that at spring training, but he's not going to say that at the end of this year. He likes it. We talk enough about Cal on here. We got but he had a great July. He had a couple of really good little surges, and that's what you're going to see with Cal. We know every about 7, 8, 9 days he's just going to go on a run for 2 or 3. Then he's going to strike out a bunch but get his walks. and chase, and then he's going to hold down the pitching staff, and that's fine. You know, but you look at Randy Rosarena, like you said, the energy he brings. What I really like about him is they say he's quiet. Well, he's obviously quiet when it comes to translating with English speaking people, so you don't see a lot out of him. Just the way he, without saying much or anything,
Yeah,
just
the
shows
aura
the
about
emotion.
himself.
Yeah, it's just like it's a silent picture show, dude. It's like a one man, like it's a one person show that you'd see on stage. I mean, that's what he reminds. And when you get Julio back, and let's talk about Robles again, though. You like what you're getting with him, but in a perfect world, you'd have somebody like Luke Raley get back on track, and then you have a really strong platoon, especially if you can get into the postseason right there, left, right.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, I would have, people talked about first base and Yandy and, Vlad. I would have honestly liked to see the Mariners if they were to do it, and I still say they did at a great deadline. I would have liked another corner outfielder. I mentioned Rooker. I wish Cody Bellinger maybe was healthy at that point. Maybe he would have been a trade candidate. He came back either the day of the deadline or the day after. I had another 3 hits. He's had a pretty good season, but going back into what your actual question was with Robles, get Rayleigh going. I like them. I like even putting Rayleigh, backing up and playing some first and giving JT some time at DH. And is another guy that, it would be huge to get going like he was. Just to get, the key is just to get a few of these guys hot and going here down the stretch where, like we said, just can lift the floor up from where the Mariners are at and get these guys on a nice little run here and, get back to maybe 10 games over 500. That would be massive right now, and they're going to need it.
They're going to. I talk about this all the time, just, on our own. I obsess over the season matchups with teams.
Yeah.
And I think you've lost the season series to Boston. We'd have to go back and look in.
Yeah, we have. I'm pretty sure
we have. We know we lost it to Cleveland. We know that we lost it to Baltimore. We either tied or lost it to Kansas City. We lost it to Minnesota. That's concerning. But I think New York, we're tied 2-2, but we got away with one out there. That was a miracle, especially with that current roster. And then they just went back to who they were the next day. Yeah. So that's concerning. You can add Houston in there. I think we still have the edge on them, but it's close, right? So
one game, I believe.
Yeah. So you haven't gone great head to head, but with this new team, you've only lost one series, and you can't even really say all the other, because I would say game 2 they started to have everybody that we traded for, but the Mariners were very short-handed and injured. Not making excuses, but like they are, and it really sucks to think about last month. Like, it was wild. We lost 2 series to the Anaheim Angels, who, by the way, today at the time of this recording, has lost Trout for the rest of the season. Don't think that was going to help them much as far as catching up, but sucks. That stadium is so boring to go to, especially when we don't have somebody like Trout out there. You don't have Ohtani there anymore. This last series I went to in Anaheim, there was just absolutely no energy. It was boring. Maybe that's why the Mariners just quit hitting. They started to fall. No, they were bad. But you look at this team going into this weekend, even though we are short, I don't feel as bad as long as we can get either one of Robles or Polanco back.
Yeah. From what I heard about Robles, at least after his last game actually playing, when Scott mentioned it, I don't know if you heard that during the post game, but he said he's got this little hip thing going, that they wanted to rest him a day. to hopefully, alleviate it, but it's something that's going to affect him the rest of the season, which is concerning. But seeing him still play that game, sliding head first, stealing bags, I feel a little bit better about it. So hopefully,
I wouldn't even have known it.
Yeah, so hopefully I hope that's the case. And he's hot. He's been excited. He's having fun. He's making himself some money. If he keeps on going, that's for sure. So he wants to be out there. Polanco, yeah, he concerns me as well. So it's injuries that can derail this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember a team that we've had, at least lineup wise, where we've had this many multiple people with little things in a while. I know it's happened before, but it's like one after the other. But we're lucky enough to not get, any news that it's like what happened to Brash or somebody's done for the season. That's the knock on wood thing. You said wait, and one thing you said they said that Robles, this is something that they're gonna have to fix after the season. Does he have something like that, or?
Yeah, and it's gonna affect him the rest of the season.
Well, fuck.
So
right.
Something he's gonna have to play through, but I mean,
you wouldn't have any kind of clue that he had something going on the way he's playing, like you said, slide and dive in, doing no-fly zone shit. You no idea. I mean, you see the guy. He has that Juan Soto thing when he takes pitches and he's talking to himself, and I love it.
Oh yeah, he's a little jitterbug up at the plate. I mean, he's fun to watch.
What's another wild thing that? Here's another wild thing that happened. At least it's not wild, but we got to mention this. We're not going to talk anymore about the Ty France stuff. He's on the Reds. I'm glad he's going somewhere. I'm sure we'll see him back in the majors. But that's something that happened here this month. Also, the All-Star game happened. We had Logan. Munoz got added probably because Logan didn't pitch. Nobody pitched. Nobody went in. The hot dogs from heaven got more screen time, I think, than any of the Mariners All-Stars. Do have to quickly mention that. And I think just about the craziest thing after everything that the Mariners have been through this month, you have this weird game in Boston, and unfortunately, Mitch Garver, leaves the bases loaded a couple times. 8 runners left on base. You have this interview. You find out that, man, he's really mentally going through it, emotionally too, knowing that he's not performing well. He's being paid really well. Fans don't like it. He knows it, but fans are getting crazy a little too crazy. Apparently death threats, telling him to kill himself. That's crazy. I don't know if that's something that you're going to shake off.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about earlier how lost Polanco looked, and especially the game I was at, with you. I mean, he looks that way right now to me, just like Polanco looked. He looks totally lost up there. Hopefully he can shake it off a bit. But yeah, that's rough.
I'm glad he said something, though. I think it's good that he let it out. I honestly feel like it's good that he let it out. Maybe some of his teammates didn't even know about that. And you have guys like Justin Turner on your team now that's like, who gave his interview, was like, hey, I've done everything in this league. I've won a World Series. I've been a playoff MVP. I've been non-tenured. I've been released. I've been traded. You know what I mean? He's like, look, you have somebody on the team doing that now. You look back at the roster prior to this, nobody knows what Garver's going through. Maybe Polanco, and that's it. These are all young guys on this team.
Yeah, I mean, and he still leads our team in home runs. But as fans and us discussing the game, sure, we rag on him saying he looks terrible at this or, at a bad game. But it's just no right for people to go after him or his family like that. It's just doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't sound like Mariners fans to me. If this was a Philly a New York, Boston, I'd be like, or even the Dodgers. They're known for these things. Mariners fans aren't the bitching and the moaning and calling names or yelling names at the owners and stuff like that. I mean, hell, that's what you do. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's rough for Mitch. It's one of these things where I go, man, is this kind of the situation with him? Outside of that, and knowing that this is going on and knowing that it's like right now, is this one of these things where you do go, hey, you take some time off, take some time to go send them down to Arizona or wherever, not to the minors, but have him work on some stuff, kind of do what you were trying to do with Abreu in Houston, where you're just like, something's not right. We saw Manoah, and both of these stories don't end well, right? But some people go down, retool, come back, and then they're fine. Because Garver can be very helpful to us. I'm just hoping it's one of those things where for some way, somehow he snaps out of it, at the end of September or in the playoffs, and you get this, hey, it's a fresh start kind of thing in the playoffs. But his swings have not looked great. I even heard, I think Goldsmith described a swing he had in Boston that it almost looked like an underwater swing where it's just kind of
Like he was swinging
not
a
a
pool
full
noodle.
swing. Yeah, like he's swinging underwater.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think about it like you mentioned, where it might be a good thing where he got this out. Maybe his teammates didn't know. I'm sure he's going to get a lift from the fans this next homestand. So hopefully he can snap out of it. I did like that he mentioned he knows he's not going to get his average over 200. He knows that he dug himself such a huge hole. But if he can just play game to game, at bat to a bat, and help the team win here or there, hopefully he gets out of this funk.
Yeah, and not just for himself, for the team, yes, and for Cal Raleigh, right? You'd love to not see him get run down. I mean, even though this guy, takes a licking and keeps on ticking. Is Timex watches still a thing? I got to look that up. We talked about that before. They're fucking missing out on, let's look that up. Timex watch. Let's get the stat department. Let's see. No, they actually, do they?
Well, even defensively, we're going to Garver. He caught this last game in Boston. He's caught Kirby a few times. I don't feel like he's hurt you behind the plate. Do you?
No, I mean, if Kirby, who seems, again, he's like Cal, seems like a tough critic. Not easy just to go with it. And he is like, all right, this is my Scott Bradley to Randy Johnson. Little Mariners history there for you youngins. But no, he hasn't. There hasn't been anything where you're like, this guy sucks. It's not like, who do we have back? Oh, like Tom Murphy, he would do some things like that. Shout out to Shelly at Murphy's. And then also the guy's name, don't tell me we forgot his name again too. The other backup catcher we had. Oh, we did it again.
You mean last year with the Louis Torrens.
Louis Torrens. Like, that was always a problem when we didn't really have anybody back there like that. And Garver likes to catch. He probably doesn't like to just sit there and DH, and he hasn't caught a lot this year, so it's not like it's a bad thing. I do think that's a good thing for him. I just wonder if he's got to get right that way. Like, is there stuff that he's just got to go work on? I don't feel like having him sit on the bench a lot is going to help either, but also you can't have somebody in the lineup that's hitting 165 or whatever he's hitting,
Yeah, I just think it wouldn't be as big of a deal as well if he wasn't awarded the contract that he was awarded, and then being paid a lot of money next year. Sure, I think that has a lot to do with it too. Maybe I'm off there, but I feel like that adds to it.
That definitely adds to it. And you know what else adds to noticing him not hitting well that really puts a microscope on it when the rest of the team isn't hitting.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to have a scapegoat. Like Ty France was a bit of a scapegoat, but he also, it was just time for a fresh start for him, fresh start for the Mariners. But when you're not hitting good too, we all thought Polanco was gone 3.5 weeks ago at the start of July. We were like, Polanco's, if you would have woke up and got an alert, and I'm like, we got to do an emergency episode. Polanco's gone. You just told me to fuck off. Good. We're not doing an episode on that. You wouldn't have cared. And look what Polanco, and I would have been, I get it. And then Polanco has turned it around. Victor Robles comes on the team, turns it around. Not everybody's going to turn it around, but, if Mitch Garver can hit 225 the rest of the way, I'm happy. I'm done looking at that. Like him, I like at T-Mobile Park, when he comes up to plate, they should just put something else up on the screen. Maybe that helps, because that's got to suck to look up there and see that. Like it's, I'm gonna stop looking at that. I'm gonna start just looking at his splits of what he's doing every day since here. And also, you mentioned earlier we were talking about Mariners fans aren't like that. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a big round of support for him in his next at bat. I wouldn't put it past the Mariners fans.
For sure. And when you're going rough, you remember when we were kids, or playing Little League, you're just kind of like hoping, I hope this ball doesn't get hit to me, and it finds you every time. Or the old saying, a new player comes into the game in the major leagues, the ball finds him. It's just crazy how Garver is struggling, and those situations that were impactful parts of the game last game found him quite a few times during that game. It's just the way it works out.
Yeah, it is. And also when things aren't going well and you're looking over like, oh, we got one base, maybe two bases to give up, and we can pitch to him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to, and he's sitting there going, be like, please just either get out or get a hit.
Yeah, it's tough. He's struggling that way. God, I feel for the guy.
He hit two ground balls. I will say this. He hit two ground balls in those situations, right?
Yeah, right to the shortstop, I believe.
It's better than the strikeout.
Yeah, true.
It's better than the strikeout. But look, Mariners, we're 51 games is an answer. Another comment. Sorry, I've been lazy on the comments. We got Mike MCJ, Mike MCDR. Let's call it Mike MC Junior 24. Oh, now I get it. To the fans, quotation, to send players threats because of his poor play. Those people shouldn't be fans. Yeah, I don't. My cousin goes. He goes, maybe it was just a bunch of people that lost a bunch of money on Garver. And I was thinking, well, if you were betting on Garver, even how big of an idiot were you in the first place? I don't know. Garver, again, it's just one of many guys that aren't hitting. But yes, there's a difference between even hitting 200 and what he's doing right there. One other guy before we got to talk about out there. Happy to still see him on the roster, but having to play way too much, but also just showing you what he does for this team. Just goes out there every day when he's got to, and that's Mitch Haniger. When you have everybody back, maybe that's a conversation. You just have to look at where he's at and what roster spots are available. What are you thinking about Mitch right now? Because before I ask that, because you do feel like this, but then he does get the hits that start, like some momentum, or he makes that good catch there in Boston. Yeah, we didn't win that game, but that one where he's going down the line towards the Penske pole. And he's another leader, but you also have other leaders now on the team. But what do you think about this?
Yeah, Haniger, just so many times through his Mariner career, he was the guy I was looking forward to being up at the plate, and he came through with some big hits. He hasn't been that way this year as much, or at all. But
Not since
maybe
April.
Yeah. So I just find it hard for a guy that wants the team to win so bad, because I feel he's a team first guy, is excited about, getting these guys coming in like Randy and stuff. I mean, that takes playing time away from him. I just feel like some way, somehow, I mean, maybe it is a numbers game and he will be the odd man out, but it's just hard for me to look at it right now with not looking at how everybody's playing and who's on the roster to see he would be the odd man out right now.
Yeah, I mean, you could say, oh, Mitch Garver's deserved to be the right man out, but what are you doing with that catcher? That's the difference. The Mariners have a healthy Mariners team has Julio. You have Randy. You got Robles. Then you got Rayleigh. And then you got Demo, who's can play outfield. So you're talking about it's a lot of right-handers right there, especially with Haniger. So I mean, Rayleigh's a lefty, and then I forgot. That's who else I forgot. Canzone. I think Canzone's going to have a lot to do with that because you can't have all these guys. So again, a healthy Mariners roster, you got Julio, you got Robles, you got Randy Arozarena, you got Mitch Haniger, you got Dylan Moore. That's 5 right-handers that can play in the outfield. And you can maybe go take Dylan Moore out of that because he's probably going to be more needed in the infield the rest of the year, except for maybe game situations. But then you have Luke Rayleigh and you have Canzone. Now we're talking about 7 guys that play outfield. They're not all going to be on this roster.
Yeah, you're right. I just find I could see a scenario without looking at the full roster and doing the numbers game with 4 guys on the bench. One of them's your backup catcher and Mitch Garver. Thinking that something would happen to Mitch. I could see if the Mariners make the playoffs, he might be a postseason casualty in a round or something like that, like Marco Gonzalez was, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I would be very surprised if they were to cut bait with him down the stretch. Maybe they can fake an injury or something BS, to have it respectable. I don't know.
I heard Mike Salk saying last week that he needs to go on the DL or the IL. That Mike Salk was like, he needs to go on the IL. Something's going on with his knees, and nothing ever came of that. I think that's just a
wishful
Mike
thinking.
Salk. Yeah, but maybe you do see something like that. I'm just something looking down the road. I was thinking about that when I look at the roster. And you also mentioned too, you'd like to see Rayleigh get some reps at first base. So if Rayleigh ends up being your first baseman, then that's a different conversation. If Dylan Moore's got to be a second, third, or shortstop, then that's a different conversation. Then there's a little bit of room. But if they're needed out in the outfield, then I think you have to address that. So we'll take one quick break and then let's get out of here. We'll just take a look really quick at the month of August. And also, I got some good news if you're looking for a Timex watch. All right, we'll be right back after this.
Hello.
Well, Grandma, Jared Kelnick, no longer a Mariner. He's an Atlanta Brave. What's your feelings on it?
My feelings are I really don't care. He wasn't one of my favorites. The one that kicked the water cooler?
That's who he is. He was very passionate.
Yeah, well, maybe he could go get a job with the Seahawks as a kicker if things don't work out with a lot of Braves.
So you didn't like his attitude?
No, I didn't care for him at all. But I was always under the impression that you kind of liked him when they brought him in up there. Does Hampton like him? Well, he wasn't my favorite, I'll tell you that. So I can't, I wish him luck, but I can't shed any tears over him going. And
Mariners approved the script. We go down to Arizona, and we present the commercials to all the guys, and they all liked it. Buhner came in. He said, "Yeah, that's fun. I'll do that." Lou said, "Yeah, I'll do it but I don't want to take all damn day." So he said, "Okay, Lou, we'll get you in and out in an hour. I promise." And then Basio and Randy came in together. So we showed Randy his commercial. You know, we had little storyboards. There's Randy dressed as a carnival knife thrower, you know, and he said, yeah, that's cool. I can do that. And Basio liked it, and he said, yeah, that's really neat. What do you got for me? And he said, Chris, you're going to love this. You're a gruff, tough, right-handed pitcher who doesn't back down to hitters. What's the occupation you're least suited for? And I show him the picture, a ballerina in a tutu dancing to Swan Lake. And his smile turned to a frown. He goes, are you effing kidding me? Meanwhile, Randy's laughing his ass off. He goes, give me that thing. I'm going to hang it up in the clubhouse. And Basio says, the hell you are. And he takes it and he rips it in half. And he rips it in half again. And it's like, he says, I'll do a commercial for you guys. I'm not going to do that goddamn commercial. Yes, sir, we got it. So we go back to the hotel. We have a few drinks. We try to come, because we're shooting in 2 days, come up with some ideas. So we finally come up with an idea that, again, the toughness of Basio, but instead of a ballerina, he is a dentist who doesn't believe in Novocaine. You know
Right,
that? Yeah.
yes.
So he's pulling teeth from this poor guy. But there was, and you know, they were pretty well received, the commercials. But there was a lesson there, which is it's okay to have fun with the players, but don't make fun of them.
Right,
You know?
right.
And that's that line in comedy. You know, a cheap laugh isn't always
Yeah.
a good laugh.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to fuck with Chris Basio. He looked like a rough dude. So that was Jim Copacino. Gonna have him back on here very soon. He's coming off of the IL with a little knee surgery. That's the backup catcher we should have signed. We should have went and got Jim. So we take a quick look before we get out of here. Hey, we're down to the last 2 months. Here we go. August. I present you August, Hanno. We got the Phillies at home. We got Detroit at home. We got New York Mets coming into town. Then you're back on the road. Detroit, Pittsburgh, and then down in my backyard at Chavez Ravine against the Dodgers. Back home for the Giants for 3. Tampa Bay for 3. Finishing up going to that Angel series.
Shoot, that Dodgers series is coming up. When is that? 19th in 20 days? 19 days?
Yeah, that's about
less than that.
It's going to be 2 weeks from Monday. It's already happening. Phillies going to be tough. Mets are going to be tough. Pittsburgh's going to be tough. Detroit's, I don't know. Probably because they made some trades. That should be one you should do, but that's on the road. Dodgers, obviously, going to be a tough one. Luckily, and then you finish up with Tampa Bay, depleted Tampa Bay, and the Angels are. This is one of these months where you're like, you know, how many games do we got here? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 27, 29. Let's just throw on the last Angels game on that Sunday. You're talking 30 games, you know, by and let's just throw Labor Day on there. Let's just look at the next 32. Yeah, you're at the A. So no, let's just talk about August. You got what, 29 games? 28 games. I'd like to see right now with 28 games, I'd like to see them being 6 games over 500 this month.
Yeah, I would too.
Asking a lot.
It is. I actually want to win 20 and only lose 8 and get on a big streak. That's what I'd really like. But the schedule's not that easy. You know, you're playing playoff teams. You got Detroit. You mentioned the Halos at the end of the month who've given you trouble. There's no easy games. You're gonna have to go out and pitch your ass off like they do. Go 6 innings, hopefully a good bullpen, and you got to hit. So we're gonna find out real soon.
And if we go back to July, just because the last time we're gonna talk about July, you had a lot of games with Anaheim. You couldn't take advantage of it, and You had a Blue Jays team that was fading. You couldn't take advantage of it. And it was not a good month. It ended with like a good cliffhanger of stuff. Let's just say that. But it was a bad month. You had the massive collapse. I think August with the new team, it's Seafair Weekend in Seattle. You got to be feeling all right. Let's just move on from that, and then do what we're saying to do here this month. Just start getting going, because the schedule isn't as easy as it was. And then let's just look ahead to September a little bit. Yeah, you got 4 with the A's, but you got the Cardinals, you got the Padres, you got 4 with the Rangers. We'll see where they're at. But then you got the Yanks. You'll see where the Rangers are at. Then the Astros. Hey, that's a tougher September. So you definitely need to make it a little bit easier on yourself this month.
Yeah, you're not playing the Sox anymore. Yeah, like you mentioned, you have the A's. But you just can't take any series off. We need to get back to winning series, baby. We got it.
We got to. One last thing before we get out of here. Just wanted to let anybody that was, wondering here, like, damn, I would like to have a Timex watch. You're in luck. They still sell these things. And in fact, they're not paying us any money, but they should. I think you can get these at JCPenney's still. The mystery sale, 30% off. Here we go. Ooh, you can get yourself a Timex. Cal Raleigh should be the Timex guy. Isn't it? It takes a licking and keeps on ticking. That's Cal Raleigh. Anyways, thanks to everybody. I know you didn't get to everything tonight, but what a July. The other thing, that's the one last thing I didn't mention. Just want to mention, we don't need it. Scott, in July, you had Scott Services press conference. I'm tired of watching it. So were all of us. We had JP broken finger. We DFA Ty France. Julio gets hurt. Got guys in the All-Star game that don't even play. The Hot Dogs for Heaven are probably your most prominent, and the Mariner Moose social media pictures. That's it from the All-Star game. You have Victor Robles just come out of nowhere. Polos turning it around. You go and get these 2 pitchers. You add a Rosarena, Justin Turner. You finish it off with Crazy Fan with death threats. It's just been a crazy ass month. I'm glad to put July behind us. Maybe this is that month of adversity that the team needs to.
Through.
Yeah. So it's done. We're burning the sage right here. We're burning it. I'm about to get in some of this Mario Kart here at MVP Sports Pub in lovely Edmonds. Thanks for having us again. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and all of that good shit. Hanno, with that being said, we're about to hit the stretch. You know what time it is. Charge. And we're out.
Parmesan did a good charge.
Yeah, he did. He had a good